You might have had somebody in your organization who looked on the internet and saw something about the dirty cow vulnerability. Now, this might be a funny looking picture to you, but the result of it is actually not very funny, because this is a privilege escalation within the Linux kernel, and every kernel from 2.6 on upward is vulnerable. So your boss was out there poking around on the internet and saw this, and he's scared, and now he's asking you, are we vulnerable to this? And you're a little scared too, because you're not sure you know. The very next phone call you get is from your security auditor, who has been poking around with different common vulnerabilities and exposures, came across dirty cow, and is saying and demanding a full accounting of your Linux portfolio, and are you vulnerable to this CVE? Well, you look at the page and decide, I better dig and see how serious this thing really is. When you do that and look in the National Vulnerability Database, you'll see that this severity is really high. So, oh boy, now I really better know. If I don't have a tool like SUSE Manager, I'm going to be a little stressed over this. But you're lucky, because you have SUSE Manager 3. And one of the features is for you to be able to audit your systems for particular common vulnerabilities and exposures. So in this case, again, we know from the dirty cow page that my number is 2016-5195. So I want to check for that. So I type in the number 5195, and I can do a security audit. Here I'm going to check all 4 boxes, because I want to see systems that are affected, and maybe there's a patch available, but I haven't assigned it to it yet. I may have affected, and I have a patch available in one of the channels that I've already assigned to this box. I might have systems that aren't affected at all. That means they either don't have the software installed, or their operating system was patched before its release for this particular vulnerability. And finally, the green good means I've already applied the patch to my vulnerable system. So I'm going to click on Audit My Systems. This takes an inventory of your systems each night, of registered systems, and associates them with the channel information where SUSE Manager pulls out the CVE vulnerability. So when I look at the list of my systems, in this case I have 5 of them. 2 of them are not affected at all, because they're running SLES-12 SP2. Remember, we migrated a system to SLES-12 SP2. We already had one that was on SLES-12 SP2. That occurred after the dirty cow vulnerability was already fixed. So there was no patch. So we don't have to patch those. That's good. Well, I do have to patch my other systems. Notice in here that this is giving me my vulnerability whether I'm on SLES-12, SLES-11, or in this case, CentOS 7. So I have patches available for each of those. So I'm going to go ahead and patch my SLES-11 system here, since the majority of your portfolio will probably be SLES-11. So I click on it, and it takes me directly to the Affected Systems tab for this patch. I know it's affected, and I want to patch it. And because my maintenance window is whenever I want to apply it, I can click on Apply the Patches, and it schedules the patch to be applied whenever I wish. I set the schedule. Right now I'm going to go ahead and confirm that I want it to happen right away. Now this has gone out to my scheduler just like any of the other things that I've done here. So you'll notice that it created this patch update. It may also have some package refresh jobs that are out here to try to keep my SUSE Manager updated and properly notified. So when I look at this patch update that I had, it's in progress right now. I want to know what the details of this patch are about. So here are the notes associated with that patch. It was issued in October. So just like we've said before, SUSE Manager said that my SLES-12 systems weren't affected because SUSE SLES-12 was released, SLES-12 SP2 was released in November of 2016. So that's not affected. But here's the different channels that are affected here on this system. Here's what it fixes, and that CVE that we referenced earlier is in the list. A patch will affect a number of different packages, not just one, but in this case, all the related kernel packages. So I have kernel default base, kernel EC2 for Amazon, and I happen to be running EC2 because this instance is on Amazon today, and the source packages and SIMS packages that are correlated to that kernel. So any affected systems will get the entire patch applied to them. When the kernel patch occurs, and I can look out here in security patches on my system and search for kernel, you'll notice that there's an extra symbol next to the SUSE patches for the kernel here. That means that it knows it has to be rebooted. So this requires a reboot trigger. So anything that I apply that requires that will place my system in a special grouping, so I know it has to reboot, and trips a flag in SUSE Manager on that system detail. So let's take a look here at our schedule. It looks like it might have already completed. Let's take a look. Here's my kernel that it did complete. When I look at succeeded, I get, just like with any other events that occur for this system, salt state applies, package installs, this patch update is scheduled, and it tells me who did it, and it tells me what it did. So it's affected by these things. It did the package install, and it executed this package install, and the result is true. And here's the patch that it installed. So now I should be patched up for my SLES-11 system. Let's rerun our audit to validate that and make sure. So when I look at audit, I change to 2016, go to 5195, and click on all the boxes again. So if I see this one is patched, it will appear in the list. And now I can see my system is in fact patched. That's really awesome. So no action is needed. Now if I want to give this as a spreadsheet to my boss and to the security guy, it will open it as a spreadsheet and allow me to give them something that has a summary of all of my systems, whether the patch was applied, where it came from, and I'm completed.